At a national level, home prices rose nearly 20% in 2021, which is unheard of. Fortune magazine recently reported that that was faster and more intense than even the run-up leading up to the 2008 housing crash. And of course, we all know how that turned out. Now, you've probably already heard about the lumber shortages, the work-from-home exodus, and the record low mortgage rates. All of this worked together to turn the 2021 housing market into one giant bidding war. But the question everyone is asking is, will it finally come crashing down in 2022? Well, stick around for this video, and I'll show you what we can expect. Before we do any kind of analysis, there are two things that we must acknowledge because they impact our perception of what's currently going on. The first is the crash of 2008. It really wasn't that long ago, and the memory of it is more painful in some parts of the country because they were hit harder. California, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Florida. What happened in 2008 was devastating. It impacted the global economy, and it's not easily forgotten. But it's important to remember that what happened then is not the norm. In 3 of the last 5 recessions, home values actually went up. And if we include the COVID recession of 2020, it goes to 4 out of 6. The second thing to keep in mind is that the bidding wars and the price run-ups of 2021 are unlike anything that has happened before. I've already mentioned that at the national level, home prices increased 20%. But look at these percentages from Austin. The areas in orange saw a 35 to 40% increase in prices, and the areas in red were 40 to 50%. Any reasonable person can understand that this rate of growth is not sustainable. But what comes next? If the pessimist inside you wants to believe that 2022 will bring an implosion to rival anything that happened in 2008 meltdown, you won't have to look too far to find some kind of gloom and doom housing market analysis that will confirm all of your greatest fears. In reality, though, it probably will not be that dramatic. Between the fourth quarter of 2021 and the same time at the end of 2022, Fannie Mae is predicting that home price will rise just 7.9%. Now that word just is subjective because even though 8% annual growth might seem small compared to the historic gains of 2021, it's still nearly double the average historical growth rate. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, since 1987, home prices have grown by an average of 4.1% per year. So all those buyers who found themselves priced out of the market in 2021 and have been sitting on the sidelines waiting for the bubble to burst should probably temper their expectations. The more likely scenario is the market will cool, but only to a point that's less scorching, but still historically impressive in terms of price appreciation. In other words, prices are not going to come down. They're just going to increase by less than they did during the market's historic 2021 run. Another thing that's getting a lot of headlines and will have an impact on the housing market are rising mortgage rates. COVID brought historically low interest rates that made it cheaper to borrow money than it ever had before. Buyers figured out that they would never see rates like this again, so they raced to lock in the loans. Those record low rates are already starting to move up. Fannie Mae predicts that the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate will hit 3.3% this year. Now, if you're thinking that when the cheap money incentive goes away, buyer demand will drop and push prices lower, don't forget, there's another dynamic at play that will likely offset any drop in demand because of these rising interest rates. There simply is not enough supply. In Fannie Mae's 2022 outlook, they noted, quote, "A severe shortage of homes for sale will limit the effects of interest rates on home sales and home prices. Not only is supply so tight that prices will still appreciate, even with a drop in demand, but historically speaking, 3.3% mortgage rates are still pretty low." In other words, the ingredients for a sudden housing market crash are not in place. But it does appear that conditions are ripe for demand to ease down gently throughout the next year. To sum up, if you're waiting for prices to plummet in 2022, you're likely going to be disappointed. Competition will probably be less intense, and rising home prices will begin to even out, but many buyers will see a wash. They'll trade slightly lower housing prices for slightly higher mortgage rates, which means they'll pay less up front but more over time than if they would have closed in 2021. Most sellers will face a similar trade-off. Yes, prices and demand are higher now than they're predicted to be at this time next year, which is good for sellers now, but those who rush to sell when the market is hot will find themselves on the other side of this equation. They'll become buyers struggling to overcome those same difficult conditions as they look for their own new houses to live in. With a dramatic crash highly unlikely for the housing market in 2022, both buyers and sellers would be wise to follow the wisdom that holds true during the hottest sellers markets, the coolest buyers market, and everything in between. Make your move when you're ready, financially, personally, and in terms of your moving schedule, instead of trying to time the market. Now, if you like this video, you should check out this other one that I did. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. All of my contact information is in the video description, so don't be shy. Let's make your real estate dreams come true.